we kindle the light of our liberal faith. May it be the light of knowledge to dispel ignorance, the light of reason to dispel superstition, the light of love to dispel bigotry and inhumanity, no matter what their guise. Good morning and welcome. So perhaps a couple of people I've not met before. My name is Chris Pilkington. I'm from near Wakefield in Yorkshire. Our first reading is a story from ancient Greece about King Midas. Bacchus, the ancient god of wine and cheerfulness, one day discovered that his old schoolmaster and foster father, Silenus, had gone missing. The old man had been drinking and had wandered off. But some peasants had found him and had taken him to King Midas, who recognised him and looked after him for 2 weeks. When Bacchus heard that Silenus had been found and that the king was taking care of him, he was overjoyed and very thankful. So thankful, in fact, he was prepared to reward Midas by granting him any one wish. Midas, who, perhaps like most of us, was at least a little bit greedy, wished that everything he touched might be turned to gold. Bacchus was not happy with the king's requests, but he granted it anyway, and Midas went off to test his newly acquired power. The king couldn't believe his eyes or his luck. Then he picked a branch from an oak tree, and it immediately turned into the finest gold. He picked up a stone, and it too was transformed into the precious metal as soon as it touched his hands. Next an apple, then a door handle. In fact, everything he laid his hands upon became lustrous and heavy gold. Delighted with his power and overwhelmed by thoughts of becoming the richest man on earth, Midas ordered his servants to prepare a celebratory banquet. And of course, to his great dismay, when he picked up a piece of bread, it turned instantly to hard and inedible gold. The wine he drank to slake his thirst became molten gold as soon as it touched his lips. Midas realised this mistake. He would never be able to enjoy his newfound wealth because he would starve to death in a matter of days. Gold might be precious, but it's not nearly as precious as food and drink. Now, instead of rejoicing in his power, he hated it and wished that it might be taken from him. He prayed with all his might to Bacchus, begging the god to save him from his inevitable destruction. Bacchus, who had never been happy with the king's choice in the first place, decided to hear his appeal. He told Midas to go bathe in the river, to wash away your power and your foolishness. Midas hurried to the river, and as soon as his body touched the waters, his gold-making powers flowed from him to them, turning the sand on riverbank and seashore into gold, exactly as it remains to this day. The moral of the story, of course, is not about not being obsessed with money and wealth. We move now to a period of prayer, contemplation. And it's a prayer called for a meeting. God of our hearts, Spirit within, be among us now, connecting where we feel no connection, stirring us to a love we find so hard. We meet in your name, and in the name of noble values and high principles. Help us to be true to them, but too often we are not. Help us to know, recognise and admit our failures. The times when we have judged unfairly, the times when we have hurt instead of healed. Help us to be big enough to be sorry, to take the path of reconciliation when pride and obstinacy have driven us apart. Help us to rise above our pain and recognise each other's. We meet to serve you and your people, not our own vanities and conceits. God of our hearts, Spirit of our deepest selves, guide us and connect us. This we ask in the name of all your messengers. Amen. And now we can all say together the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Our second reading is from the New Testament, from the book of James. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. For someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I by my works will show you my faith. You believe that God is one, you do well. Even the demons believe and shudder. Do you want to be shown, you senseless person, that faith apart from works is barren? Was not our ancestor Abraham justified by works when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was brought to completion by the works. Thus the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. For just as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is also dead. Amen. We move again to a time of prayer, of contemplation, and it's a prayer called In an Unquiet World. God of our hearts, whose oneness makes us one, in an unquiet world, let us be quiet. In an unpeaceful world, let us be peace. In an unkind world, let us be kind. In an unjust world, let us be just. In an unloving world, let us be love. Make of our speaking the things you want us to say. Make of our deeds the things you want us to do. Make of us what the world needs us to be. So may our lives be a blessing to all, and our spirits are channels of your spirits. May it be so. The theme of my address today is charity and the theology behind it. Charitable giving and behaviour being encouraged or required by all the major faith traditions. And it's an address prompted partly by my own exploration of how much charitable giving I should be doing, and to whom, but also I'm conscious that, generally speaking, the Unitarian denomination is living off the charitable giving of past generations. And if we are to survive and grow, we need to increase the level of live giving today. I'm not suggesting compulsory tithes, but many churches, such as the Church of England and the URC, do provide guidance to members on the subject. I'd also like to raise awareness of our own Unitarian charities. I think most of you have probably heard of the Send a Charter Hucklow Fund. We've also got the Clara Barton Red Cross Fund. And scattered around the country there are some tiny, quirky little Unitarian charities as well. My favourite is the one at Mansfield, where way back when a lady gave a pot of money so that hot cross buns could be distributed to people on the street at Easter. They still do that. What's perhaps not widely known enough in our denomination is that we're also one of the founder members of Christian Aid back in 1945, and we remain one of the organisation's 41 sponsoring bodies. Christian Aid was founded in 1945 by Christians who wanted to offer relief and reconciliation in post-war Europe. And from its earliest days, the charity has assisted people and communities on the basis of need, regardless of race, religion or nationality. And today it is the official development and advocacy agency of 41 sponsoring churches in Great Britain and Ireland. And the organisation is active in some of the world's poorest countries. Its work is, of course, founded on Christian ethics and powered by hope. It acts to change an unjust world through charity, providing practical love and care for neighbours in need. It's driven by the gospel of good news to the poor, and inspired by the vision of a new earth where everyone lives in justice, peace and plenty. And it's the notion of charity which I want to focus on today, and the religious thinking behind it in Judaism, Christianity and Islam, and how we benefit from charitable giving as well as those receiving it. I should add though that charitable giving has its place, but I don't think it's what will bring millions of people out of poverty in the developing world or in the UK. Trade rather than aid is the ultimate solution. Nevertheless, charitable giving is part, in my view, of any proper religious way of life. And the first religion I want to examine is Judaism. And according to an article on the Harvard Divinity School website, so it should be accurate, charitable is equal in importance to all the other commandments in the Torah combined. And that formulation comes from the Roman period, but the origin of this characteristic Jewish idea is apparently much older. Its beginnings lie in fact in two places, with a general ancient Near Eastern notion that the king is the protector of the weak and the defenceless, and more particularly in the biblical story of God's redemption of the people Israel from Egypt and his gift to them of the promised land. In Exodus, these two related streams come together pointedly when Israel's divine king gives them this revealingly phrased law. You shall not oppress a resident alien, for you know what it feels like to be a resident alien, since resident aliens is what you were in the land of Egypt. Through a host of institutions, most notably the tithe, Jewish law makes the giving of charity a mitzvah or commandment. Commandment, not an option. The framework is once again theological. Charity is based in something higher and more enduring than feelings of compassion or guilt. And there's a verse in Proverbs pregnant with repercussions in both Judaism and Christianity. He who is generous to the poor makes a loan to the Lord. He will repay him his due. lest potential givers think that by performing the mitzvah, they will harm their own financial status. The proverb assures them that in the divine plan, their gift is accounted as a loan, one that the ultimate protector of the poor can be trusted to repay in full. In this theology, charitable giving is not a zero-sum game. It results in wealth for both the donor and the recipient. A celebrated passage, traditionally I understand the Jewish husband chants it in praise of his wife before a Sabbath evening meal, includes women in its ethics of giving. She gives generously to the poor. Her hands are stretched out to the needy. For a woman as for a man, generosity towards the poor is a sign of a God-fearing person. Maimonides, the great codifier, philosopher and communal leader of 12th century Egyptian Jewry, spoke of 8 levels of charitable giving. Which is the highest? It is, he wrote, that of the person who assists a poor Jew by providing him with a gift or a loan, or by accepting him into a business partnership, or by helping him find employment. In a word, by putting him where he can dispense with other people's aid. This ideal mode of giving inhibits both paternalism in the giver and dependence and resentment in the receiver. For Christians, the role of charity is first built on the injunctions of the Hebrew Bible. In the New Testament, Jesus' parables and actions also speak to the morality of charitable sentiments. In the Gospel of Luke, for example, a lawyer notes the Hebrew Bible's injunction to love thy neighbour as thyself and asks Jesus, who is my neighbour? And Jesus responded with the familiar parable of the Good Samaritan. A man on the Jericho road is robbed, stripped and lies half dead. Others passing by, a Samaritan, whose people were historic rivals of the Jews, takes pity on the unfortunate, binds his wounds and transports him to an inn for care. And Jesus asked, who do you think was a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And the lawyer said, the one who had mercy on him. To which Jesus responded, go and do likewise. Through the parable, Jesus is essentially telling his listeners, everyone is your neighbour, even the stranger by the side of the road. And those who show mercy obey God's law. Throughout the Gospel of Luke, Jesus breaks down class barriers, consorting with sinners, the ritually suspect, lower class people, tax collectors, which I think in this day and age would probably be people who work for the HMRC, and other people who might be considered the other. And that's what got him into trouble all the time. He socialised with people who made others uncomfortable. Sort of how we might be uncomfortable with people who live on the street today. That was his ministry of healing, caring for the poor and others. The parables, the stories of Jesus being among the poor and unfortunate are important. Narrating these stories, thinking about them, can move us. It gives us a way of thinking of the others as human beings. It's really easy for us sometimes to see these people as not worthy of our respect. But telling these stories gives the poor the fullness they deserve. Turning now to the Islamic tradition, there are different forms of giving. The one that is best known is zakat or alms giving, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is usually defined as a mandatory way of redistributing wealth, and in the days of the old Islamic empires it was very much institutionalised like a tax system, where children were expected, citizens were expected to give a percentage of their income to satisfy the needs of the community. In a modern world, we see charity as a much more personal act. In the ancient Islamic world, it was much more community duty. Having said that, there is another important aspect to giving in Islam, one that is centred on the idea of purification. Being charitable is a way of purifying your material deeds and thus never losing track of the most important goal, which is serving God. In this case, by serving your fellow humans. Today, when there is no longer an Islamic empire, almsgiving still exists, but it doesn't mean that it goes automatically to the Muslim community. It can go to other charitable causes as a way of providing stability and solidarity within society. The whole goal of almsgiving is about social stability and improving the relationships between human beings. During the month of Ramadan, for example, charity becomes even more important as a way of feeding anyone in need, not just Muslims. It is seen as a way to provide civil cohesion and peace. Besides zakats, there are multiple other ways a person can give, preferably in secret. Sometimes people ask, if you don't have any money, how can you fulfill this duty? Now, according to one of Prophet Muhammad's sayings, even meeting your brother with a cheerful face is charity. Muhammad was asked, what if a person has nothing? The Prophet replied, he should work with his own hands for his benefit and then give something out of such earnings in charity. The companions kept on asking questions. What if you're not able to work? The Prophet said he should help poor and needy persons. What if he cannot do even that? The Prophet said he should urge others to do good. The companion said, what if he lacks that also? To which the Prophet replied, he should check himself from doing evil. That is also charity. He should check himself from doing evil. That is also charity. And on those, I think, wise words, I'll end. So just some thoughts on the theology behind charitable giving. With love and compassion for each other and the world, may we go from here more worthy of the gift of life and of the blessings of the earth, our common home. Amen.